Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to take a look at how to do some basic troubleshooting to see if your Apache web server is in fact up and running. And this video is part of a larger series of videos focusing on HTML, CSS, client and server-side scripting. This video does not attempt to handle all of the different troubleshooting possibilities. As a matter of fact, we're going to be just focusing on a Windows installation of Apache. Turns out there are multiple different ways that you can have Apache web server running, and this may also work, or this basic troubleshooting workflow may also work for other different types of web servers. So to begin with, what you want to do is you want to launch your favorite web browser. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the address in of the local loopback adapter. So in this case, it's going to be 127.0.0.1. And we can, of course, optionally put in our port 80. But for right now, we're just going to keep it simple. We're just going to put in the 127.0.0.1 address. We're going to hit enter. And as you can expect, the reason behind this video is to do some troubleshooting. You can see here that I do, in fact, do not have my Apache web server up and running. So this should be your first clue that you've got something's wrong. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to sort of go through the steps of how to get the server up and running. And so what you'd want to do is you would want to go ahead and launch a command window. Now, I'm assuming that in this video that your Apache web server is not set up as a service or anything sophisticated like that. And instead, what we're going to do is we're just simply going to navigate to the installation directory. And in this case, you can see here that I have mine in C software, and there's my Apache 24. Now, again, this is going to be a little bit different depending on whether you're using a stack or a Linux installation. So the steps are roughly the same, and that what we want to do is we want to make sure that our Apache web server daemon is in fact running. And so what we're going to do here on this Windows installation, because I do not have it set up as a service, is we're simply going to navigate to that directory that I just showed you, C software, Apache, and then the bin directory. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for and attempt to start the HTTPD daemon. That's the executable that essentially listens for requests to your Apache web server. And on the Windows machine, when it is not set up as a service, you don't really get any feedback by default. So you're just going to have to kind of take it that it's working when it doesn't respond. If there's an error or something like that, you will see something come back on the console. But you can see here that my browser was smart enough to notice here that suddenly I do in fact have an active web server. In other words, behind the scenes, it was actively polling. I wasn't really expecting that. I was actually going to open up a new tab and then show you how to go about doing it. So in this case, let's just go ahead and do that. So we'll just go ahead and put in our 127.0.0.1. Now, we've got sort of a little bit of a bizarre result here. And I say it's bizarre, I kind of expected it, but you probably did not. And you'll notice that effectively what I have is the directory structure of somewhere on our local machine. And what do I mean by somewhere? Well, it turns out that, again, if you've got an Apache web server set up on Windows by default, you're going to be leveraging this htdocs folder. Now, we're going to, in another video, take a look at how we can change that location. This is basically just an out-of-the-box Apache installation. And so what we can do is we can drill into this htdocs folder, and you'll see that there are, in fact, two subfolders here. One is archive, and the other is my PHP myadmin. And that is left over from some other instructions that I provided in some earlier documentation. You can ignore the archive folder. This is just where I've been playing around a little bit already. But you can see that effectively what's happening is we're serving up the directory structure. Now, there's all sorts of reasons that you wouldn't want to do this. We're not going to go into that in this video. But effectively, what this should indicate to you then is that your Apache web server is, in fact, running. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our console real quick. I'm actually going to open up a new command window. I'm going to CD to a different location. I'm going to CD to a tool in my software folder called Nmap. And what I want us to do is I want us to also look at another indicator that our Apache web server is in fact up and running correctly. And I'm going to just simply run my Nmap tool against my local loopback adapter address of 127.0.0.1. And you can see that in fact, my port 80 is open, and it's open for the HTTP service. So again, that's a promising indicator that our web server is in fact up and running. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to come back over here to my other console, and I'm actually going to hit Control-C. And this is going to take a little bit, but the web server daemon is essentially going to be stopped now. When you hit Control-C, you're essentially forcibly crashing an executable. And what we're going to do now is we're going to come back over here to our web browser one more time. We're going to hit refresh. And after a little bit of a delay, you'll see that again, we have this site cannot be reached. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our second command prompt, and we're going to run our nmap tool one more time. And you'll see that my port 80 is no longer listed as being open. Now, again, a couple things to note. First of all, this is a Windows installation with my Apache installation in my C software Apache folder. There are a couple of other scenarios that you might be interested in, but the fundamental steps are exactly the same. You'll want to use your web browser and a tool like Nmap to verify that, in fact, your Apache web server is, in fact, running. And again, we're going to just simply start it up one more time. Again, we're not really getting any feedback. And you can see here that Chrome is actually doing a pretty good job of sort of behind the scenes verifying that the site is up and running. For those of us that have been in technology and web development for a few years, we'll probably find this a little bit amusing because of the fact that these types of features really didn't exist years ago in earlier versions of some more web browsers. And again, you can see here that behind the scenes, it's actually checking the status of our site. So hopefully you found this video useful. Again, we're going to cover other steps, other configuration steps, how to host files and everything like that in other videos. This is just meant to help you make sure that you do in fact have your web server up and running. So as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you for watching.